Imagine you have a multi-vendor e-commerce site or a blogging platform, and for every image upload, you're trying to resize and optimize the image before storing it. Handling tasks like this in a single process could hinder performance and could also cost you more. This is where serverless functions like Azure Functions come into play. Instead of focusing on the server or the infrastructure, you focus more on the problem and worry less about underlying infrastructure or idle resources due to system activity. In this video, I'll be walking you guys through building and deploying your first event-driven app using .NET and Azure Function App. I'll also guide you on automating the deployment using GitHub Actions. If you're ready to dive in, let's get started.
Preview.
Alright guys, I'll first start with creating a new function project using Azure Function Call Tools. So I'll be doing Azure Function Call Tools basically helps you create a new function project. So you could head over to your browser and type Azure Function Call Tools to install it in your local system. I've done that already. So I'll go ahead and run the function init command to create a new function project. Head over to I'm using the function init command, calling this project test function app, and I'll be using the .NET in process runtime model because I'm trying to keep things simple here. Just a simple Azure function, a simple HTTP triggered function. So I'm making use of the isolated runtime to avoid the whole program CS and other setup configurations. So I'll just go ahead and run this. It's going to take a few seconds. I'll just pause the video. So yeah, the function app has been created. I'll navigate to the folder. So I'll navigate to test function app. And I'll go ahead and create my first function. So the function project encapsulates all the functions you have. So assuming now, like for example, in an image processing system, let me say if you're making use of an Azure function to handle the image upload first to the blob storage, you have the first HTTP triggered function to handle the process of uploading the image. Then you could have another function that will be triggered by a queue storage, which will then process the image and resize it. But in this particular video, I'll be focusing on just one single function, deploying it and automating the deployment. So I'll go ahead and create that function now. Function new. I'll call this request image upload. Sorry, I was meant to use name there. And I'll use so you've got various templates. You've got HTTP trigger, you've got blob trigger, queue trigger, and so on. So I'm using HTTP trigger. It's going to take a few seconds as well, so I'll go ahead and pause the video. So yeah, the function has been created, and I'll open this in my VS Code. So basically, this is similar to a normal .NET project. What is missing here is a program.cs file because this is not an isolated runtime model. That's why we don't have the program.cs file. We've got the CS project, the SLM files, and the settings file. So the host.json basically contains the settings for the global runtime of the Azure Function app and the project basically. Then you've got your local settings.json file where you declare your environmental variables for your function project. Then you've got your various functions. So this is the first function I created, the image upload function. You can see the function name here is image upload. It's a normal C# class, normal static class. Then we've got the run method there. This is the method that runs, that invokes the function basically, and it's triggered by HTTP requests. Now I'll be changing the authorization level to anonymous, so I can easily call the function using the browser or a postman without passing in the key, a function key or anything. So I'll use anonymous here. And then I want it to handle just GET requests. No need for this route. Then yeah, we've got the request object and then the logger. So basically what this function does is, I'll zoom this a bit in. It just logs an information to confirm that we're processing a request. Then it gets your name from the query parameter. So basically you can see in this response message here, it's saying that the HTTP triggered function is executed successfully. I should pass in a name into the query string or the request body for a personalized response. So basically this is where we're getting your name. So if you pass a name in the query parameter, to read that in, If you pass it as an object, let me say using Postman, it will read that as well, to convert that from JSON to a dynamic object and read your name, and then return a 200 response. Basically, that is what this OK object response, OK object result is for. So I'll go ahead and run this particular function. So I'll run it using func start. Yeah, it's running now, so I'll just navigate to my browser. I'll navigate to this particular URL here. And you can see that the HTTP triggered function was executed successfully. So I should pass in a name. So I'll go ahead and pass in my name. Name is equal to Freeman. And it greets me basically. I could use Postman, but in order to make the video too long, but I mean you could practice it on your own and see that it works as well. So now next step is deploying this particular function app in Azure. So yeah, to do that, I'll just stop this process. So yeah, for you to deploy to Azure, first of all, you need an account. So you can create an account by going to portal.azure.com. And next up, you need a subscription. I've got a subscription available already, so I mean you can easily set these things up. So now, after you've gotten a subscription, next thing is to create a resource group. So I'm creating a resource group to encapsulate everything, so I can easily delete it at the end. A resource group basically to contain a storage account and a function app. Then let's say assuming you've got the queue storage, you can also set that up. I mean the queue storage is in the storage account, so that's fine. But let's assume you have other resources or services that you might be making use of, then you can set that up in there too. So yeah, I will go ahead log in. So once you've gotten your Azure account and the subscription active, you go ahead and log in using the Azure CLI. So I'll go ahead and log in now. Okay, yeah. So I've got multiple subscriptions. So I'll be using the tutorial subscription, which is 3. Yep. That's where I am now. So I'll go ahead and create a new resource group. I'll call this test function app. I'll set the location to UK West. It's going to take a few seconds as well. Okay, it's done. The next step is to create a storage account under this particular resource group. So yeah, I'll be using the storage account. Great. So assuming you're trying to run a command and you're unfamiliar with the necessary options or parameters, you could use something like the Azure AI Finder, some kind of documentation in the CLI. So use AZ find, AZ storage account. Great. So yeah, this just gives you various examples and what you could do with it. You can see this to set up a vault to manage the keys for your storage account and the rest. So I'll just go ahead and create a new account. Calling this test function app storage. I don't want this to be too long, so I'll call this test storage account. And I'll set the resource group to the test function app already created. So I mean, because I'm going to be adding multiple parameters, I'll use the backslash to go to a new line. So I'll set the location to UK West and the SKU to, which is more like the stock keeping unit, if I'm correct, to standard LRS. And I'll go ahead and create the account. So since subscription was not found, I'm going to try and debug this and get back to you guys. Alright guys, so I figured out the issue. The issue was that the Microsoft storage resource provider hasn't been registered. So all you have to do is just head over to your subscription and under the settings and then resource providers, you scroll down to where you have Microsoft storage and you register it. Then you can proceed to creating a new storage account. So now I tried creating a new storage account, but it's saying the storage account name is already taken. Test storage account already taken here. So what it means is every storage account name has to be unique globally in Azure. So you have to make sure it's unique to yours. If not, I mean, it's going to throw an error. So I will change that to Freeman codes instead. Freeman codes storage account. I guess no one's taking this yet. So yeah, it's longer than this. So they've got quite a lot of validation rules in place. I'm going to reduce the number of characters. So I'll call this Freeman code storage. This is going to take a few seconds to run, so I'll just go ahead and pause this video. So yeah, the storage account has been created. So you can see in the endpoints, you can see the Freeman code storage.blob.core.windows.net. So every single storage account has its URL, but with the name as a prefix. So that's why the name of the storage account has to be unique. If not, it's going to throw an error. So next up is to set up the Azure Function App. So an Azure Function App needs the storage account. That's why I had to create the storage account first. On a normal case, I mean, let me say when you're creating a normal app like an app service, you don't necessarily need the storage account unless you're trying to upload images or files to the blob storage or something like that. The storage account it's got quite a lot of there's quite a lot of reasons why you should set up the storage account for a function app. One reason being that due to triggers from maybe like a blob storage, you will need a storage account, something like that. So yeah, that's all about that. So I'll just go ahead and set up a function app. I'll be calling this Freeman codes test function. This is too long. I'll call it Freeman codes function app. Then I'll set the resource group to, if I'm correct, can I really remember why I called that? I think I called that test function app. And then the storage, I think I called it Freeman code storage up there. Yeah. And I'll be using the consumption plan. So I'll be setting up the consumption plan location to UK West. I forgot to set up the runtime. Yeah. So yeah, I made a mistake with this. So it's Freeman code storage, not Freeman codes hyphen storage. And one more thing is the runtime. The runtime is .NET. So yeah, don't make this mistake, because if you set up the runtime to be .NET isolated, your app might not run effectively. So make sure it's .NET runtime for the in process. If you're using .NET runtime locally, make sure you're creating a function app using the .NET runtime in production as well, and vice versa. So this is going to take a few seconds to run, so I'll just go ahead and pause the video. Alright guys, the function app took quite a bit of time to run. I mean, quite a couple of minutes, I think around 5 to 10 minutes, I'm not really sure, but because this is the first time I'm doing this and this is a new subscription, that's why it took this long. But if you're setting up a new function app for the second time, it's not going to take as long as this, because I mean, tried registering certain services which have not been registered before. That's why it took a lot of time to run, but yeah, that's all about that. So our function app has been deployed in Azure using Azure Function App, and this is the URL, basically the name of your app .azurewebsites.net. So I'll go ahead and run this in the browser. But first, before I run this in the browser, I'll head over to my subscription. I'll go to the overview, no, rather the resources, or maybe resource groups. So we have the resource group. We've got the default resource group and the one I created. The one I created is test function app, and in that we have the storage account, the function app, the storage account and the function app that I created, and the application insights for the function app, which was created automatically by the function app command. So I'll head over to the function app. So in the function app, we've got this. So I'll go ahead and refresh. Okay, yeah, so the app hasn't been deployed yet. So I just created it in Azure. I just created it first, but I've not deployed it yet. But if you run this in your browser, this should run. This is working fine. So next step is deploying the app. That's this project we're working on here. So you can run your AZ command anywhere in your command line, but if you're going to deploy your app, you should be at the root of your project. So right now I'm in the root of my project, which is test function app. So I'll go ahead and run the function. I'll use the function call tools to deploy the app. So I'll run function Azure function app, publish, then the name of my function app. I think the name is Freeman codes Freeman code function app. So yeah, I'll be pausing this video for a few seconds for this to deploy. So there you go. Your first function app has been deployed, and in the deploy results you have your functions. So it's shown us you have just one function, which is the image upload function we created, and invoke URL by HTTP trigger. So I'll just copy this and paste in the browser, and you will get the same stuff which we got locally. So I'll just run this. You have the same log, the same information we got in the local development, and I'll pass my name Freeman, and that's it. If you head over to your portal as well and you refresh, you can see you have one function here. You can go ahead and debug this, you can see the logs and all. But yeah, that's all about it for writing your first function app and deploying it using Azure Function App. So next up is automating the deployment. So in order not to make this video too long, I will walk you guys through the .yml file as quickly as possible. But yeah, I'll explain everything as we go along. So yeah, I'll just go ahead to my GitHub, to my project folder, and I'll create a new repository. I'll initialize this repo, and I'll create a .github, yeah, / workflow, and I'll call this deploy.yml. Then in here, I'll just copy and paste the commands one by one. So first and foremost, you've got the name of the deploy script. So basically it's building and deploying your function app to Azure, your function project to Azure Function App. I keep using these words, but yeah, it's still the same stuff. So Freeman, just whatever you want to call it. So you've got the name. Then basically the on is to start this workflow when you push to the main branch. I think it's the main branch we've got there. I mean, when I push to the GitHub repo, I'll know what branch I'll be making use of. Then the workflow dispatch keyword, yes, so you could run this workflow manually. The next step is your environment variables. So we just go to environment variables here. You could set this up in GitHub as well if you want. So these are your environment variables. And after your environment variables, then you have your jobs. So I've got the build and deploy jobs in one. I mean the build and deploy commands in one job, basically. So the build and deploy, this takes care of building your .NET project and deploying it to Azure Function App. So basically this runs on the Windows latest platform. Then the first step is to check out your code using the GitHub Actions, this particular GitHub Actions. The next step is setting up your .NET environment. It could be any environment, it doesn't have to be .NET. This YML file works for any environment because it still makes use of the Azure App Service published profile, which I'll be getting to yet. So basically you could set up you could make use of this YML file in any environment. Just make sure that you're using the correct deployment script or the correct build script for that particular environment. So what this does is it checks out the code, then sets up the .NET environment using the .NET version 8.0.x. Then it builds and publishes your project. So the same way you build and publish a project in .NET is the same way you're going to do it here as well. So you run the .NET build configuration release command, then you publish it to this particular directory which I've set up here. I'll zoom out a bit, or rather I'll make this full screen. Then this is not necessary, this is just to list the files, but this is not necessary. Next step is now deploying the app to Azure Function App. So now to deploy this app to Azure Function App, all you need is a published profile. And you can get this published profile by heading over to your Function App. So you head over to your Function App and you download your published profile. I've downloaded this here, so I'll go ahead and open this in a text editor. So this is the published profile. You copy this, then head over to your repository. So I'll first push this to GitHub. I'll just Copilot to generate the commit message. I'll push this to GitHub, a public repo. So that should be done. I'll put this on GitHub. Then I'll head over to my settings. Then under secrets and variables and actions, go ahead and create a new repository secret, which is the name of this, using this name here, which is Azure App Service publish profile. Now add secret. So I've added the secret, so all I just have to do now is push that YML file to GitHub. I think I already pushed it, sorry. I mean, it must have started. I don't know, it might throw an error. So let me just head over to my actions. So it's running it already. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and pause the video. If it's done, I'll show you guys. Then maybe I'll make an update to the function and redeploy, so you guys can see that it auto deploys it straight away. Alright guys, the job has been completed. So I canceled the first one because it tried using role-based access control to authenticate with the function app, which I didn't set up. So I canceled that and ran the workflow. So I think mistakenly I ran it twice, but it's completed now. So I'll just head over to my function app and refresh. I'll reload, sorry. I'll head over to my deployment center. Yep. Over to the logs. And you can see that the latest deployment was by 5:39. And it's from the repository. You can see the first one was via a push deployment, which was the one I did using my command line. And the last two were via my repository. Also, you could set up auto deployment using your function app. Using the deployment center. But assuming you want to run certain things or set up various things, maybe like run test and all, like before deploying the function app, this particular tool might not really help you with that. So that's why I have to understand the structure of the file and be able to manipulate it to suit your configurations. So yeah, next thing now is to test our deployment. So I'll just head over to my function app and I will say hello name, maybe just also pass maybe last name, be able to get the user last name, query hello name last name is this function was updated. Now I'll go ahead and push this to my repository to trigger the deployment. I'll use GitHub Copilot during the commit message, and I'll sync changes. I'll head over to my repository in GitHub, and the action it's queued now. So it's going to take a few minutes to run. I'll pause in the video, then I'll be coming back to you guys once it's done. Alright guys, our workflow has finished. So I'll just head back into our function app to view the updates. So I'll refresh this. I think the deployment hasn't finished yet. So yeah, it's done. So I'll head back to the live URL, then the image upload. So yeah, hello. So you get the message, hello Freeman, this function was updated. If I add my last name equal to hello Freeman M, this function was updated. So yeah guys, this sums it all up about building your first event-driven app and deploying it using Azure Function App, as well as automating the deployment using GitHub Actions. I'll be linking the GitHub repo link in the description, so you guys can check it out and make use of the YML file if you want to configure it to your own settings. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications for videos like this. I'll see you guys some other time.